Strap on your VR headset because we're about to transport you into the captivating world of Ghosts of Tabor. Welcome to Tabor Radio. Hey, welcome to this episode of Tabor Radio. This is one that I've been very excited for. I always love talking to the developers, but there's a little part of me that's a little bit biased, being a podcaster. I love to talk to the media team.
Well, and this is a gangster media team, too. It's not lackadaisy at all.
No, so far we've talked to Proper D, we've talked to Soul. I mean, it's quite the team over there. And today we're joined with ZStorm, another member of the media team, quite well known in the Tabor community.
Oh, yes.
So Z, before we get carried away, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit more? Tell the listeners exactly who you are and, what you do over at the Combat Waffle Media team.
Yeah, I'm ZStorm, and as our... Oh, sorry, there's things falling upstairs like crazy. I'm a member of the media team. I help create the YouTube videos, the TikToks, and I'm starting to get into the mocap and learning the cinematics and stuff like that. So sometimes when you see the Tabor avatars in the trailers doing things that you normally can't do in the game, that'll be our whole team. Just actually getting on our suits, getting on trackers, and vaulting over boxes that we put in our room and doing wild stuff and just mocap and all that stuff. Just having a whole team together. That's what I do. The three of us all together, me, Prop, and Soul, working together as a unit.
Well, that's quite the team right there.
Gangster team.
I mean, Proper D is well known to the real aficionados as, probably the best trailers in VR. But the motion capture aspect is a little bit newer.
Yeah.
So, what's that like, putting on all the trackers and getting into the nitty gritty and actually being the character in the trailers?
Yeah, it feels pretty wild. I haven't gotten a chance to actually do anything that's actually been in the trailers yet, but Prop helped me set up the Unreal Engine and get in there and start to figure out and learn a little bit, just the gist of how to rig myself up to the character and see the character and see what I'm doing as the character, and like holding the gun and being able to like keyframe all of the movements to be able to go back and edit through. You can edit down to like the fingertips of like moving and everything, every single frame. And it's just wild, like looking at it, and you can see the avatar and like seeing the avatar move, kind of like what you would do in VR chat or something, seeing that same type of like avatar in a mirror, and you're like, whoa, this is pretty crazy. And the movement's just like really fluid because you have all your trackers on and everything, right? So it's a pretty fun experience. And being able to, walk around the bunker, different parts of maps that haven't been released, and go into it all and do cool fun things. It's pretty wild.
Well, that does sound pretty intense. There's a lot we could talk about, just the trailer side and the media side, that I know we're going to get into in a few, but we always like to go a little backwards to start.
Go back in time a little.
Yeah, get to know who exactly ZStorm is. So before Combat Waffle, it's my understanding you were doing content creation for quite a bit in VR. So how did you discover VR, and I guess how did ZStorm come to be?
Yeah, I discovered VR way back in 2016 at my buddy's house, just like we all did, found it someplace, somewhere, and we're absolutely blown away by the thought of being inside of another world instead of just seeing, the video game in front of us. Put a hole in my buddy's ceiling, had to help pay and re-drywall it and do everything. So after that, I bought my first, CV1 Rift and dove into VR and never really looked back. Kind of off and on until a couple years ago, and then I started playing Population 1 that pulled me back into VR. And I was like, I'm just gonna make some videos, here and there. I just want to make some funny moments, and it dove into a full-time career. I quit my other job and I did full-time for a couple of years, and the opportunity to work here at Combat Waffle after I put 600 hours into Tabor presented itself, and I was like, what better way to to help push VR forward than be at the forefront and center of the game that I feel is actually pushing the boundaries and the limits of what VR can do currently. So that's kind of...
That's quite the origin story. But
I just want to interrupt. So were you media trained, or are you all self-taught and just followed a passion and was able to take it to where we are today?
It was all self-taught. I did originally want to go to school for it. I saw how much it was going to cost, and I was like, I'm just going to Google that and YouTube that, and I'm going to figure it out on my own because I'm not paying that much for a degree. And just all self-taught.
So that's my not knocking schools of any kind because they're needed. There's jobs where but I love hearing the stories where people have a passion for something. They just learn it. They, like you said, you Google it, you watch videos, you find whatever material you can, and you start learning the process. And now look at where you are. You're working for, in our opinion, one of the absolute best studios in the VR industry, and certainly going to leave a mark for years to come. So that's an awesome story.
Yeah, and I got to know, what was the game that you were playing where you put the hole in the ceiling? Do you remember?
Robo Recall. Robo Recall was the I went, there was a robot that jumped down from like that tornado or whatever, and the first thing, and I tried to grab him to grab the head because it was like they had the thing where you could rip the robot limbs off. I went to grab his neck and I just put the whole CV1 through the ceiling. I just freaked out. It just freaked me out. Like it felt like something was actually falling on me, and I was like, no. Yeah, it was pretty wild.
What kind of obscene strength do you have to have though to put your hand through a ceiling?
It wasn't a tough ceiling. Like it was so there's like a drywall sheeting on the ceiling. It was a basement ceiling, and so like I'm 6'5", and this ceiling is like 7 foot. So like it's right there. Like and I didn't have that training yet of my height to ceiling in VR space ratio yet. So yeah,
I knew he was tall when he said hole in the ceiling. I'm 5'8". I'm not putting my hand through any ceiling. I'll tell you that much.
I can punch mine in the house, and that really sucks. 6'5", so note to self: no boxing ZStorm ever, because he's got the reach advantage on you.
So yeah, I wish I could show right here that my ceiling has index scuffs all over it. like it's just black streaks across the ceiling. Before I leave this place, I'm gonna have to paint it because it's just like I get the index controller, like I know my height now, and I get it just enough where the controller just touches the ceiling.
So just for my own curiosity, so I'm not dwelling on it in my head, did the controller break when you put your hand through the ceiling?
It did not, and awesome. that CV1 is still, that's what my girlfriend uses currently. Still to use that same CV1 that it went through a ceiling there. It smashed a brick wall in the back of this place, and it hit a metal electrical panel and dented another panel in at another house. And it's the right controller. It's still ticking. No problem.
Like VR's Nokia phones, just.
Oh, it's a great testament to the quality, though.
That CV1 was a beefy headset.
And Population 1, Ghosts of Tabor, was shooters always your go-to genre as well, or is that just what you focused on with content?
Shooters felt the most appropriate to me for what VR was. Like the mechanic of first-person shooter just worked really good. Holding two controllers and aiming a gun just worked really good for everything, and I just found myself really enjoying that. I do have like a racing rig, and I'll set up stuff like that, and that is really cool and everything. And there's like Zenith. I did play a lot of Zenith as different MMOs, and tried out a lot of different games over the years. But shooters is really what I come back to a lot of the time, just because it's what I get to experience of like what I played flat screen, but into virtual reality.
Makes sense. And take us back to when you had first discovered Ghosts of Tabor. Sounds like you discovered it very early into the life cycle. But what was that?
No, enough to put 600 hours in.
Yeah. Before you'd even started working there. So, what happened when you found Tabor? Did you drop everything? Had it just come out? What was that timeline like?
It was like the early access testing days, and Short Stack had access to it. You may not know Short Stack VR in the VR space, but he had access to it and asked if I wanted to join in with him, and he's going to show me the ropes, because I really had never played Tarkov before that. And so like I was told about that, and then before I hopped in, I went and played Tarkov a little bit and kind of got a feel for what an extraction shooter was. And I enjoyed that, frustrating but enjoyable. So I was like, okay, let's try this in VR. And I went in there and just sitting there being able to organize your bunker. Well, sorry, at first it was a really frustrating experience. I went in like one night with short stack for like one raid, and then he had to leave. And so I hopped off next morning. Scott was watching my stream. I was live streaming it because I got the AOK, and I don't swear much. Like I try not to on stream, but I was cussing up a storm. I was so angry. I thought Tabor was the worst game in the world. Like I was so angry. I'm like, wow, this is janky. This is awful. This game is terrible. And then there was only like 10 people who had access to this game at the time. And so I go into a raid and I see another person. And I'm like, oh, who's this? And then the guy's like, oh, I'm Scott. And I'm like, okay, I don't know who Scott is, but hey, like, I'm like, cool. And he's just teaching me about the game. And then come to find out, after I had been complaining this whole time that he was the CEO of the game. And so I felt pretty bad. But, once I learned the controls, I couldn't stop playing. I just wanted to be like, I have all these other responsibilities and other things to do, but I'm like 10 hours in it. I'm like, who needs to sleep? Tabor. I'm like, just going to keep grabbing items, looting, and, building piles of magazines and guns on the tables and just doing cool things and collecting as many cans as you can. It was just, the loop just kept me wanting to play and not wanting to stop.
And what was the content viewership response like at that time? Was your viewers eating it up, or was it something that you were doing just because hell, it's what you wanted to do?
It started as, just doing it because I couldn't stop playing it type of thing, and it turned into really good viewership, and it turned into creating a few videos here and there. But then my big video, one of the biggest videos on my channel, was the 12 hours in Ghosts of Tabor video, where I played it for the 12 hours straight and edited it up into a fun narrative story. And something like that just blew up my channel, and it was really cool because I had so much fun making that and so much fun doing that. So it was just fun to be able to create content around it and be able to, survive off of making the content for the game and everything like that.
Well, I definitely agree with the game being fun. We were in it 5 minutes, and we were like, whoa, there's something very special to this. We called it as soon as we were in. I can't remember how soon. We played it relatively after it came on.
Ran to App Lab, probably like the first couple weeks on App Lab.
Yep.
And my goodness, how far it's come. But how did this go from streaming and complaining and talking shit to Scott about how bad the game sucks to now being, part of the media team?
Yeah. So like I was saying, I was making content with it for a while because I was still doing, full-time content creation in general. I think, and I'm good friends with Soul outside of before Combat Waffle, and I knew Proper and I had done a few things together before Combat Waffle as well. And so I just kept playing the game and everything, and I was getting a little burnt out on content. I haven't made an actual video on my main channel in probably 2-3 months, something like that. I was just feeling really, really burnt out by what I was doing with my specific content, and so the opportunity presented itself to be able to to work for Combat Waffle because they needed another media member on the team, and Soul and Proper knew me and trusted me, and so they wanted me for the team type of thing, and so it was right place, right time, and it was awesome that Scott gave me the opportunity to be able to join the team, and I think it's been like 6 months now, 8 months maybe. It's crazy how long it's been. Like time flies when you're when you're doing fun content and doing things like that. But it's being able to have a nice consistent job where you get to do what you love every day, and it's awesome. It's awesome to be able to do that.
Well, I think you're also surrounded by like-minded individuals through the whole company. That we've seen a common theme with everybody. It's like no, it's all me attitude from anybody. Everybody's part of the bigger picture, and everybody seems to be absolutely loving their freaking jobs.
Yeah, and again, when you're learning from people like Proper D, you're going to learn a thing or two about trailers. That's for sure. And a cool position that you all are in is, well, you're kind of forced to go in the game. I know everybody is in the sense you're developing in it, you got to go in it. But if you're making media for it, you know, you got to go in and, you know,
Arm twist.
And what's that like? Do you just go in and do a raid and just pick out moments and use that? Or do you sometimes go in with specific content in mind that you're trying to pull off and record?
So initially when I first started, a lot of it was, just going in and playing the game normally. You know, Sol and I would go in and just do raids on our personal account and have fun. And we'd take clips from that content. But a lot, like recently there's been a lot more content, so it's been a little bit more stressful with like just gathering everybody and making a list of content of things that I want to do, because I want to keep making things better. So for me personally, a lot of stuff is done now on like the QA test, or like we have some, you know, like internal builds that we're doing like for content that's going to be coming up here soon. And so I've been focusing down on doing a lot of those things, going in and planning out specific shots and going in and getting those shots, making them, you know, they'll look the coolest that I can. I do still have a thing called Playtest Adventures on the Tabor TikTok, where we do company-wide playtests, and we go in and play with everybody and goof off and have funny moments, breaking the game, finding all extra bugs and things like that, and then take all those chunks of content and throw them together into a bunch of short form content. But you know, outside of work, we still play the game, and I'll sometimes take content from that I grab that I'm like, oh yeah, this will be great for, you know, for the Tabor TikTok or something like that. Like I'll grab content from there and pull it over, type of thing.
This says something when you're still going in it.
Oh, yeah.
After the day's
home from work,
time for some more Tabor.
Going into Tabor.
Well, I didn't get to do exactly what I wanted, so you know, it's time to go back in. That's awesome, and I love to hear that you're still playing VR, even, you know, off the shift, even if it's still Tabor. And are there other games that you're kind of in your rotation as well too? Yeah, there's a decent bit of games. Let me go through and see what I was playing. I played Pal World. When Pal World came out, that sucked me back in. You know, it wasn't necessarily VR, and I didn't get a chance to play it in VR. But that was one thing that just was like, whoa, crazy game. But I played Assassin's Creed Nexus a little bit when that came out, because that was a ton of fun. It was really cool to see a AAA game that was good for VR come out. What else did I play? I played Contractor Showdown. I did a bunch of testing with Showdown. Playing Off the Clock, sometimes we play Grim, or we were playing Grim when the testers who had access to it were playing the old build of Grim and everything like that. I can't talk too much about that currently, but that was a ton of fun. We put a lot of hours into Grim. By far our most hyped game.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, Grim's gonna be a ton of fun.
Spoon has us hyped, to say the least.
Yeah, there's a lot more that you guys haven't seen that it's just like, it's gonna be an amazing game. It's gonna
be absolutely epic. I can feel when I heard the initial description of it, I was already sold. I'm like, no fucking way. And now every time something's posted in their Discord, it's always something like, oh, you guys aren't going to believe how good this is. It's better than you think it is.
And is it going to be the same media team doing content for Silent North and Grim as well?
Yeah, so it's kind of going to be our same media team that we have. I'm going to probably take priority with doing a lot of things, Ghosts of Tabor side of things. Sol's going to be going towards Grim, doing a lot of the Grim stuff, and Proper will be doing a lot of and all the Silent North stuff. So when it comes time for Silent North, Proper will be doing that. But we'll still, like, though those are going to be like our quote unquote assigned games, we'll still be hopping between each other's projects and helping each other out and just making sure that we still flow together and the content that needs to get out gets out on time and everything like that.
Just a well-oiled machine at that point.
Oh, yeah. Can do your individual thing, can jump on the team side of things.
And it's so good that you all have had the opportunity all working on just one game together to really build that relationship, that work understanding with each other. And then when there are 3 fully out, it's you guys already know how to work collaboratively in a remote situation. There's no like learning, there's no ironing out, So I think that's, I don't know. I'm excited for the next 1 to 2 years of Combat Waffle. I say it every episode, but when all 3 of those games are out, it's going to be busy. It's going to be busy, to say the least.
Funny, dude. It's already busy.
And what's it been like on the Tabor side since, the game actually launched on the MetaQuest store this past month?
It has been wild. There are a ton of new players. And it reflects in our actual player counts, in the viewership of the media that's being produced and everything. It's wild to see this many people like explode into the game and then stick around in the game. There's a lot of VR games that people will come and go, but this one, people just, they come here and they stay, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing, and people just aren't leaving, and they just it's just massive,
and it's still continuing to grow.
Mm-hmm.
So I know their Discord's got to be over 90K now. I have a photo. I took a photo of it the other night. It was 89,999. So
yeah, we just cracked 90K last night, I think, in the Discord, and a lot of that was like natural. Like there's a lot of companies, and I've seen it, going through the years of doing VR content creation, who would give lots of extra special bonuses and everything for people who would like tell their friends to join the Discord and do that or this and that, and like. We would say to join the Discord every now and then, like you want to keep up with updates and everything, but a lot of that is just natural growth. So like those 90,000 people are there. It is that active. Like those people are active and they're talking in there all the time. And like that Discord is on lock all the time by all the moderators, Alaska, Vex, Mr. Witty. Like they have to be on top of it because there are so many people talking all the time. You can't go in there and the chat not just be like this all day. Like any hour. You can go in there right now and it's just going like this. It's crazy.
It's ridiculous. I think it's funny sometimes, even if you post like, hey, how's everyone doing?
Yeah,
in case
I'll pop in there just to do that.
Gone.
See how fast it can go all the way up to the top.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, no, it's one viciously active Discord.
Yeah, I give the community managers a lot of credit because, like you said, that's a task. It's 24/7. There's always stuff going on.
Yeah, and I'll see Mr. Alaska and the Grim Discord too popping in. So I mean, the rounds are being made. It's just an incredible team.
Yeah, no, hats off to all of you. And for yourself, this is a question I have to ask everybody that we have on the show, and we've gotten conflicting answers, but it's one of mine. If you're from the Combat Waffle team and you're coming on, I'm probably going to ask this. When you play Tabor, I mean, granted, you're doing media stuff, so sometimes it might be a little bit more specific to one. But if you were just going in on your free time, do you go in for loot, or are you going in looking for kills, for player kills?
I guess it depends on what I'm doing. So initially with the, I'm a loot goblin. I always got to loot. My backpacks look insane. I still consider myself one of the people who can pack the most items in a backpack. I'll take someone on for that any day. Anytime I see a picture, I'm like looking at a backpack and I'm like, man, you got like 3/4 of that bag that could still be packed up full. But it all depends. Like if it's the beginning of the wipe and I'm trying to get my traders up, like I'll try and probably go in for player kills to focus down on just getting my trader levels up and everything like that. And if I get loot along the way, that's fantastic. But after that's achieved, to the traders that I need, at least like trader level 3, trader level 4, where I can get some armor, night vision, and AP ammo, at least at that point, then I'll just start going in for actual loot.
Makes sense. And actually, that's a good segue into a question that I see people ask a lot on like the official Ghosts of Tabor Facebook group and stuff like that. And that's leveling up traders. That seems to be something that a lot of new players struggle with.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any tips for new players that, they look at the traders and they go, oh, I'll never hit level 3, 4, anything like that?
Yeah, it's it's definitely a grind for a lot of the traders regardless, and some people have gotten the flow down to figure out like, okay, for Spectre, like these certain NPCs, you can get this cluster of this amount of NPCs on this particular map to farm them, this many times, and you can go, quickly. These people would go, quickly in and out of raids and do all this and try and like find that perfect flow to level up a lot faster. And I don't know if we have the item turn-in missions enabled back right now, whether that's a thing. At the moment, I haven't gotten a chance to play on live and take a look and see if that's back up. But with that down, if that is down still, it makes it a lot harder to level up Yuri or Hana or people like that who you could get extra items from. I personally, speaking just for me as a player, do think there needs to be a little bit of balancing done, and there's some more things being done with the traders in the future that I think will help with that a lot. I can't talk too much on that because it's still being thought out and fleshed out and figured out. So at the moment, it is still a pretty big grind to be able to get in there and get those trader levels up.
I admittingly don't pay as much attention to it so I'm not focused on it because I'm always just let's go in and get as much shit as we can.
I love the mentality of like I'm self-sustaining, so I try to not go buy stuff. I just whatever I get from my raids is all I
live off the land.
Yeah, everything else is a bonus.
And the fat sack of cash we're starting off with every wipe. That's a difference. I do want to correct myself. I said Mr. Alaska, I think, and it's just Alaska. I apologize.
Yeah, it's okay.
You gotta call Mr. Alaska. Oh, that's perfect.
If it wasn't before, it will be
Mr. Witty in the head.
It will be now. No, those are good tips, and it's funny. You go yourself as a player. You think this. How much internal stuff is there? Where I'm sure everybody has opinions of which way the game should go, but how often are things kind of not butting heads, but
loud discussions?
Yes, to put it lightly.
Yeah, it's for the most part the team works together pretty well. There isn't a lot of discrepancies. If there's like one person who says that they think one thing should be one way, other people will chime in, and it'll kind of just be like, does the rest of the team think this would be a good change? Is this something that we have time to allocate and focus on? Like, is there too many other glitches and bugs of like this particular thing that need to be focused on first before we can even begin to worry about changing this one other, little mechanic that only affects, 2% of the player base versus something else that's affecting 60% of the player base type of thing. But, for the most part, everybody, works well together, and we figure out things pretty quickly, just by discussing and talking it out.
Well, and also we say it every time, but the speed at which this game was developed and put out to the wild for people to play and start working stuff out and then make it to the official store, scoring, VR Game of the Year awards.
Yeah.
It has just been an insane ride to watch go down. And now on the cusp, I'm betting on one of them coming out in 24, but Grim and Silent North on the horizon. Who knows what other projects on the horizon? So this is just the speed at which you all are working is just unfreaking believable.
Yeah, I don't think that you get those type of accolades or that type of success unless everybody's working cooperatively and in a good way. So I think the results speak for themselves.
Well, and I like to think that when the game came to the store, I was like, all right, everyone's going to probably be able to take it a little easy. And it seems the opposite just from the outside looking in. Like the energy is just even more fired than ever. And there's still a lot on people's plates. So, I mean, insane.
And for yourself, are you playing on standalone VR or are you on PCVR?
I play majority of the time on PCVR, and it's a lot of the time because recording content on standalone is a little bit harder, and on PCVR I have my monster PC and an index that I can play the game at 144 frames as opposed to playing it on Quest. Quest is fantastic. It's amazing that anybody can get in and play Tabor, but if you have a PC accessible to you and you can make that step up, that next step, towards, a higher end of gaming, that's all it is. It's just, slightly advanced from the other end of it. I was very surprised. I hadn't played in a while, and I played when I went down in Florida a couple weeks ago, and we had to record some quest footage for Meta. We got to use the beta cast, or their new like beta cast 2.0 from the Meta Developer Hub, and it recorded some amazing footage on the quest, like zoomed out FOV, like right eye, and the footage looked amazing. And I was like playing it back for some of the coworkers, and I'm like, this is quest footage, right? And they're like, what? Like it was really cool, and the game ran a lot smoother than back when I had played on a Quest 2 back in the early days of Tabor when I had tried it out. So it's really cool to see where it's progressed to, and how much better and smoother we were able to get the game to run for anybody who's on a standalone device, to make it a little more balanced between both ends of the PC and the standalone side of things.
And the standalone users, we thank you for this, because otherwise we would not be in. But I already know when we go, because we're supposed to go PCVR this year, and I already know Ghosts of Tabor is one of the first purchases for the. There's no freaking way. I love the footage I see that people post. I'm like, it definitely looks a little better on the PC than it does the Quest, but it's running fine on the 3.
You'll be able to get some more amazing footage very soon in Tabor as well. There'll be when the streamer cam launches on PC, you're gonna get some amazing chances to get some really cool shots and everything for recordings, specifically on the PC platform.
I've been hearing that streamer cam hyped, and I'm excited for it. I think that a huge part of the Ghost of Tabor success is the aspect of the content creators like yourself back in the day. It's kind of a game made for content creation.
With so many good ones too.
Yeah, all the random interactions and stuff like that. So I think as good as it's been with content creation with Ghost of Tabor, when this streamer cam drops, people are in for a whole new treat. I'm excited to see the videos that come from it. And for yourself, are you guys kind of watching other streamers that stream Ghost of Tabor, keeping an eye on, all that community footage as well?
Yeah, we keep a close eye on everything that's being made, because a lot of these content creators that are creating content for Ghost of Tabor, we were also friends with before we became a part of the team, and we still are friends with them. And so we try to, throughout the workday, we got multiple monitors set up. We'll have one page with Twitch open and one page with YouTube open, and have Ghost of Tabor, searched up on it, refresh the page every now and then, see what's being posted throughout the day, see what live streams there are. We'll go hop in people's live streams and, hang out for 5-10 minutes and, just see what's all going on, see if they're, what they're doing, having fun, experiencing anything that's, it's critical, game breaking, things like that, and just try to check in on everybody.
I'm sure you must have some sympathy as well. If you see a streamer and they start cussing out the game or something buggy and janky, and you go, oh, well, that was me back in the day, comes full circle.
Yeah, and then if like I know any cheesy workaround to it, I'd be like, well, you gotta do this. I know it sounds dumb, but until it's fixed, that's what you gotta do, type of thing.
I remember those days. There was the don't load in unless you were holding your backpack in your hand. It was like a couple of weeks of you could potentially not have your. We're going way back, not.
Yeah, that was the classic days.
The good old days.
Yeah,
I've always said that there'll probably be a time though people will want that.
That original bunker.
You got
OG
that old
days.
version where shit wasn't perfect and we complained a lot and people bitched a lot, but we kind of want that again.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear too. That there's been a lot more players on the Quest store. There was part of me that was like, it's going to blow up when it hits the main store. Then there was that little voice in the back of my head that went, well,
a lot of people own it.
Yeah, what if everybody already owns it? Because Quest,
not the case.
The Tabor was such a popular game before, but no, you see it. People are talking about Ghost of Tabor. I've been seeing some like VR or some gaming articles floating around on some bigger news publications too. Tabor's making waves. It's again a game built for content creation. But it's very clear that you're pretty decent at the game as well. Would you say that? I don't want to use the word the best.
You can.
Would you say that there's a?
Can start
would you
some
say,
problems.
Would you say that there's a best player in the studio internally?
Proper. Proper is probably the best. Proper is an absolute legend. Like that dude is the most humble guy you ever meet.
Of course, it's Proper.
A creation genius, but also an insane at shooters. Like he'd be like, "La da da," just talking, and you'll go into a match, and like when we do the early days of internal playtesting, and he'll wipe the entire map. Everyone just like, I was just shooting. He's like, "Good try, mate." You know, things like that. And I'm like this guy. I'm like,
it is so fitting for that title to go to him too.
Oh, with the nice sounding voice too, as he's killing you.
You would think it would go to like Elijah or Scott, but no, it goes to Proper D, the nicest guy.
Everybody's a pretty good player that's there. No one's like really bad at the game. Which is cool because like we've all like everybody who's there and works on the game plays VR, has played VR, and when we get in to do tests, knows how to use a headset, doesn't get sick, can be told to do one thing to test something, and everybody just knows how to do it. Like it's a fun time. It's really fun.
Makes sense.
Yeah, we've heard some funny stories.
Yeah. Well, dude, it's a hard game to work on and not want to play all the time. I mean, everybody that's listening to the podcast, they're probably listening to the podcast because they're obsessed with Ghosts of Tabor.
Mm-hmm.
They're at work wishing that they were playing right now. So they're listening to a podcast
Just
about it instead.
One more.
Yeah. It's such a good game. And again, the sky's the limit once Grim and Silent North are out. Those are two vastly different games.
Grim is gonna, I can't go without talking about Grim. I bring it up every Monday on our show as well, but that's going to consume a lot of my time.
Yeah.
I already know it just too much personal hype inside. And now, people slowly releasing stuff, the footage Spoon releases, and it's like, this is going to be fucking nuts.
Yeah. I've even heard Scott hype up Silent North in the sense that he thinks it might even be more popular than Ghosts of Tabor when all is said and done. But for yourself, who's kind of seeing things internally, do you have a dog in the fight? Do you think that one of those is going to be the most popular, or could you see it going anyway?
So I think that Silent North will be the most performant across all platforms. I think Silent North will probably run the best and look the closest between PCVR and mobile platforms. So if that's anything to say about it, like I really think that game will be able to be the biggest because of the stylized art style and everything that it's going for. But if I had to bank on a game being the biggest, even though I adore Ghosts of Tabor, I do still think Grim will probably, like my personal feelings as a player, I think Grim will top over that eventually, just because of how Rust is like in the flat screen world and everything. And it's such a heart like wrenching and pounding time. Like today on my lunch break, I went and played Grim. That was my lunch break. I just was doing early testing and everything, playing Grim by myself. And, it's just so much fun being in there, and even without all the people. And when we do eventually get all the people in there, it's going to be terrifying, always looking over your back, that like, there's no, like Tabor, you can escape. You can go back to your bunker and chill out and vibe and calm down. You don't get to do that in Grim. You are being hunted every single second. like you go back to your base, cool. You got 5 dudes outside ready with C4 ready to blow your entire house apart and come in and take everything that you have spent your entire time building. Like, it is anxiety inducing, just next level. It's going to be insane.
Well, this is exactly what I want to hear.
Yeah. I don't think I can get more excited for Grim.
Yeah, I'm excited for every project for sure, but just something about, again, I wanted Rust in VR for standalone, and then ever since we found out it's coming, it's, in the form of Grim, I'm couldn't be more stoked.
Yeah. But going back to Ghosts of Tabor, again, it doesn't sound like you're too bad of a player. So you gave some good tips regarding, the trainers and stuff like that. But do you have any more general tips for, again, new or struggling players? People that they throw out a couple shots, then raid's over, they're dead, screen goes black.
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing is you get a lot of people thinking that they're hitting their shots. And, I've been there. I've done that. Like, I'll think I'm hitting my shots like in a raid. And so I'll go back to the bunker and I'll hit up the range and I'll shoot. I'll try and replicate exactly how I was shooting, even if I was like running or strafing, like in that situation, and aim my gun in the exact same way that I was shooting. And I can clearly see that I was actually way off target, not actually hitting everything. So, trying to steady your aim and practice your shots, properly, and getting a basic understanding of guns, knowing how the sights work. Like a sight is going to be sighted in at, like 30 to 50 meters, like type of thing. It kind of changes to, based on the gun. But like if you're standing, kind of close to a target and you can hit it one way, but feel like you're missing it one way, try and stand back at different levels and see where the bullet hits and lands and things like that. A gun stock is a huge thing for me after I was rocking the Force Tube or the ProTube for a little while, and when I went from freehanding it to a ProTube, like my accuracy was insane, just being able to just pull up my gun and just shoot, and like it lands right where you want it to. And I think the Tabor Raider, we got those coming out here soon to a lot of people. That's going to really set the next level for the way gun stocks, should be, just having the freedom, because a lot of times you have a gun stock and you drop it off and you're trying to clip it back on, and you go to clip it and you clip it wrong or clip it in the wrong place, and you go to pull up and you get a strap caught somewhere or something, and you're like, you need to pull off your controllers to drink or eat or heal up, and you just get caught up in a thing. The Tabor Raider, you just be able to snap it apart, just easily accessible, quick moving. I got to play with it when I was down in Florida, and it felt awesome. It felt awesome to be able to have that freedom of movement with the stability still.
I saw a picture on social media of the boxes getting ready to go. Yeah, so that in itself is probably going to be a game changer for new and older players.
Yeah, I was always a little skeptical of gun stocks, but you seem to say that they make a huge difference for you.
Yeah, it's something like I was always skeptical of gun stocks, and still here and there I can be. I guess sometimes it depends on the day, but like I had the ProTube way back in the day, tried using it a little bit. It worked in Onward, but frustrated me in any other game. Tabor has that slower pace like Onward did back in the day. So using the gun stock in there, I don't have to make quick, fast movements all the time. So using the ProTube is good, like 80% of the time, until you do have to make those quick, fast movements. And then you're like, like I'm kind of struck. And then you get frustrated, angry, and you're like, man, why do I have a gun stock on? This is stupid. But, you don't count for the rest of the time where you're actually hitting your long shots with a sniper, because you're not sitting there shaking it like this, trying to get your reticle and it's going all over, as opposed to having a gun stock. You could just sit there and their reticle is just dead on, just sitting right there, perfectly smooth. And so I do really think that the Raider is going to be that perfect balance between stability and ergonomics.
I don't think you all are going to be able to keep up with the orders of people who are going to, because I mean, literally any edge you can get, doesn't hurt, right? I mean, I'm not crazy here.
No, this is the first time I'm kind of convinced on one.
Yeah,
too.
I was tempted before to try one with Tabor, but I was like, I just don't see how this is going to work at all for me.
The gun variety.
Yeah. I'm like, there's so many different guns, and how's this going to come apart? And I'm like,
well, that's the good thing. That's where the and it's still trying to be fleshed out and revamped and things like that. But gun stock calibrators, they make it so that you can calibrate it to each and every specific type of weapon. Assault rifle, SMG, things like that, so that your in-game hand, when you calibrate it for the gun stock, it technically, when you grab that SMG, your hand might move forward 6 inches, and it might like look a little weird at first, but when you clip it onto your gun stock, and then put it up to your chest. It's exactly where you would be holding it if you held the gun normally. Gun stocks take a while to get used to. If you plan to get a gun stock and you're like, yeah, I'm going to open this out of the box, and this week I'm going to be a god with this gun stock. Don't expect that. Expect it to take, it took me a solid week and a half to really get into the flow of being able to use that gun stock properly. It made me worse for a little bit. I was definitely worse for a little bit with the gun stock. But once you get that feel for it and can actually, know where to clip things, know where to move things, and it all snaps back into place, and you got that hand movement down, then you have that and the stability combined into one, and you're golden.
I'll take stability, especially because I try to use the sights a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And if if your hand's flowing, it's just not gonna work. I'm sold.
Yeah,
definitely
100%.
sold. Yeah, no, I'm very intrigued, and I like that. I'm not shocked at all that Combat Waffle would come out with this themselves, but
it makes sense. It's it's one of those questions that you see thrown out a bunch, like, hey, what's a gun stock that you recommend for X shooter? Doesn't matter which, and it's good for there to be an official one.
Yep.
And, hey, that's the one. And it sounds like it's gonna be pretty badass too.
Yeah, that was exactly the thought. We had Proper, Fish, and Scott, who all played competitively in Contractors and Pavlov and everything like that. So they've all used, Proper's been through every gun stock there is known to mankind, tried every single one. And so the idea for this gun stock was also like a huge, everybody's ideas all pulled together into, what would work best for this design. Proper had a lot of input. Scott had a lot of input. Trying all these different prototypes, like they kept getting prototypes back, trying it out. They're like, nope, this isn't good enough. Nope, this isn't good enough. We need to tweak this. We need to figure out this. And so like a lot of time went into making sure that this gun stock worked great for Tabor specifically. It'll work with other, shooters and everything as well, but it works really good with the environment for how Tabor is set up.
Again, I'm sold.
Yeah, and I still love this image of Proper D going around and just completely server
marking everyone.
Yeah, it's just so fitting. Being all proper and nice with each kill.
He can be nice and proper while he's killing. So it's a proper killing.
To me as well, Ghosts of Tabor is 100% a different game playing solo and with your friends. With my, when we're in a group together, it's fun. I'm having a good time.
I'm more ballsy.
The second he dies, I'm in like survival mode. All of a sudden, it's almost a horror game to me. For yourself, do you usually go in solo or do you go in with a squad?
90% of the time, I prefer going in with a squad. When I go in by myself, I get like, I remember back in the early days of trying to go into silo by myself whenever Stacks or Soul got off of online, and there was that chance of people being online, and I just terrified me more. Like I can play horror games in VR perfectly fine. Any horror game you can throw at me perfectly fine in VR. In Tabor by myself in a dark area like silo, I'm shaking all the time, and I'll jump and like I don't hit things in VR because I'm very spatially aware after 10,000 hours in VR. But solo, going into some place that's like Tabor by myself, I'll still hit things. I'll spin and I'll hit something because I'll get so scared. Like it's a whole new experience when you're in there by yourself.
Yeah, if he dies, I don't think that there's any game in VR that gets my adrenaline. My anxiety going
1,000,000%. Yeah.
I'm like, I need to get out of here. I've been in some situations, I never actually do it because you better to go down fighting, but I've been like, I should just shoot myself in the head right now and get the hell out of this situation, start a new run. I'm trapped. I know how this is gonna go. There's something about it.
Well, you always feel like you're being hunted. Like no matter where you go.
Make sure you insure your gear. Make sure you insure your gear. Go over to the water, throw everything in, pistol, bang, and all of a sudden, you're perfectly good. Nobody's gonna get your gear, and you'll get all your gear back. Easy peasy. Remember to use insurance.
I have thrown gear in the water, and I've also thrown it out the upstairs of the dock's window onto the balcony because I'm like, oh, we're getting murked. It's coming. Just throw all my shit out there, and you can't get it.
If I can't get it, nobody's going to get it.
Yep.
That's a good tip with the insurance, though. That's a huge, huge feature that came in the last couple months.
Buy the insurance a lot?
I haven't had to go shopping too much since the last wipe because I've been doing good with staying alive, except our last couple of runs. My streak has ended, but I haven't had to go shop too much. But when I do, yeah, I'll insure. It's worth it.
I'm 50-50. Sometimes I'm cheap with my money, and other times I'm like
it depends, like if it's something like a big ticket item that if you die with, someone's going to pick it up, like a Barrett, like insuring a Barrett is expensive. Like, do you want to spend that extra 30 grand to insure it when somebody's going to pick it up when you die? Like, you're going to lose it regardless. So you got to kind of balance that. If you're going in with a regular AKM, but you're still going to put the money into getting a drum mag on it, kitting it out and stuff, you might want to insure that because there's a chance that if you do get killed and you have something like that they have better gear already and they'll just leave that behind.
So what is
fine balance?
What would your ideal? You've got everything unlocked.
Yeah, this was my next question.
Oh, sorry.
No, go.
What would your perfect loadout be for going in?
Oh, see, I guess it depends on what my goal is. If I'm player hunting or if I'm specifically trying to get Phoenix and get loot. I love the AK Alpha. The AK Alpha feels like cheating. Like there's no recoil on it if you have the angled grip and you have everything set up properly. Like that gun is an absolute menace. Let's see. I personally adore the AK-5C. The AK-5C has probably been one of my favorites to use when I go in. But I think the one gun that I used in the beginning, two guns that I used in the beginning and I still love is the Barrett. I just love the oomph behind the Barrett, and just like you have this massive cannon in your hand that's just shooting bullets, and it just one hits any person looks at you. As long as you land that shot, they're just poof, their gear just everywhere type of thing. The other thing would be especially after the introduction of the ammo pouches, is using the shotgun, the pump action. I love just pulling out shells and just sliding in shells. I love the feeling of that. I think that's so cool in VR, especially be able to like having that pouch on you and being able to pull out shells and load them in and rack the shotgun and just popping around corners with the shotgun, whether you got slugs or just buckshot in there. It's a ton of fun.
Yeah, the Barrett's no joke.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I got to pull, I was expecting a big boom. I'm like, oh, dude, if this thing's at all like the real one, it's going to like blow my eardrums. But holy Moses, the sound. And you're right. You even get whizzed by the bullet, you're probably going to fucking die. That is a serious, serious weapon.
There's some cool things coming with that in the future. And Eli might get a little mad at me, but I accidentally already showed it off in a TikTok. I'm not sure if it'll be coming in the next patch or not, but there will be suppressors for the Barrett. So we show that off. There will be suppressors that you can put on the Barrett. And if you shoot the Barrett without a suppressor, it'll cause that tinnitus ring in your ear. So if someone's like walking past you or shooting, if you shoot the Barrett and you don't have a suppressor on there, your ears will ring, and all that gunfire and everything that's happening around you it'll deafen. It'll go like blurry and hearing around you, and you won't be able to hear someone creeping up on you if you fire it. So you'll have to make sure to be running that suppressor if you want to actually be able to hear things at all times.
It does. I mean, no bullshit. I mean, you stand anywhere near a Barrett in real life when you're going to be deaf. You can watch the you can watch the shockwave on a ground.
And I haven't experienced it yet, but last time we talked with Scott on actually the Rough Talk podcast, he had hyped up the tinnitus effect, and he had said it's pretty accurate to what he experiences with real tinnitus. I mean, how messed up is it?
So it's pretty wild experiencing it. When I got in and I experienced it, the other week just with it, I was like, whoa, what just happened? Like this is insane. And that same thing comes from the flashbangs that are going to be coming. So like, and that's the same thing. Like a flashbang goes off and you hear the ringing in your ear, and you could still be shooting, and all of a sudden all that shooting is just muffled. It's like bang, 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 bang. Like just like the muffled shots through the ringing and the like brightness coming through your eyes, and like you're just trying to hear what's going on around you, but you can't until it stops ringing, type of thing.
I love all the shit that comes out that like,
Yeah.
because we knew about so much stuff coming, and then out of like left field, I heard about we hear about oh no, wait until you see the flashbangs and what's going to happen.
Even the twist on suppressors kind of came out of nowhere. I even saw a video.
Shooting the suppressor.
Yeah, of shooting it while it was half on, and the thing goes flying.
Way. You imagine losing it like that?
Yeah.
Oh my god, man! And
it's totally okay if you can't say anything. I get how things are, but is there a time frame that you guys would like to see the twist ons and stuff like that added by?
Very soon. Very soon.
That's fair. I think people are hyped for it, to say the least.
My brain said when I saw the suppressor go shooting across the map was, well, where's the grenades? When are we going to be launching grenades from across the room?
Yeah, a lot of people wanted the suppressor that shoots off to hit someone and still do damage, but you gotta remember, if you're aiming the gun at someone and you shoot it and the suppressor flies off, the bullet's still going to hit the person in front of you, type of thing. So it's not really going to matter if the suppressor hits them or not, because they're going to die from the bullet first off, type of thing. But I'm very excited to see people who mess up and just think that placing it on the end of it and then not twisting it on, go to shoot and suppressors just flying everywhere. It's going to be hilarious.
That's going to be a lot of first time playing Tabor mistakes, or first week.
How devastated would you be, though?
Especially coming from other shooters and stuff like that. They're going to find out at the moment they need it. That's when it's going to go flying. Probably freeze up all confused.
It is one of those things, though, that you kind of like, you got to use a lot of common sense. I know there's not a ton of that left in the world. But when you go to put the twist on suppressor on, it'll slide on. You can feel it slide on, like with the haptics. It'll slide on, and you'll notice right away that it's a little twisty. And so, like, if you see it twist a little and you go, yeah, that's good, and you let off of it, like, that's on you. Like, you should have known, like, if it goes on and it moves a little, try moving your hands, see what it does. If it twists more, try twisting it. Twist it down, it'll make a click and lock in, and then you'll be good to go.
I almost wish the suppressor change came, but there was no announcement about it. And it became how quick will the community figure out what just happened here?
Probably one gunfight. The first gunfight that somebody's streaming, they'll probably see that
just launching suppressors around just because they can.
Telling new players, hey, I heard if you don't twist it on fully, it does extra power. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, like flapping your arms in Pop 1.
Yeah. That was the original one in Pop 1.
Yeah. If you flap your arms, you'll fly faster.
Mm-hmm. So is it hard to go back to other shooters like Pop 1 and stuff after Tabor?
Yes, it is. It's extremely hard because the mechanics are just like, well, a lot of people who come into Tabor get very frustrated by the amount of realistic mechanics there are in there right away. Like, I don't like, I just see it all. I'm like, okay, this is how a gun would actually work. This is exactly how it would feel in real life, handling weapons. And like, well, Population 1's fantastic. It just feels like in there you're using a stick that shoots lines. Whereas in Tabor, it feels like you're holding a piece of metal that you have to make sure that you have it set on the right selector. You got to, make sure that, you have, your magazine full the right way that you want it, and, have it filled with the right ammunition that you have. You need to make sure that you have your grip on there. Otherwise, the recoil changes. Have the right sight that's on there. Make sure that like the EOTech, like the magnifying one, have whether you want the magnifier up or down. Like all these little things that need to be running in the back of your head, like while you're using this weapon, that just that add to that skill gap, that skill level that other shooters just can't compare to in VR right now.
I get it 100%. Pop 1 was definitely, like we said, our OG one that really
it had its place in time.
Yeah, but it's
times have changed,
and it's a lot more arcadey. Like you said, the realism aspect of Tabor might turn you off initially, but I mean, that's what makes you fall in love with it. That's what keeps people coming back. I mean, you could spend a whole hour at any given day just organizing your bunker, tidying up. I'm long overdue for a bunker tidy up. I'm very unhappy with my slob of a bunker, but it's that aspect. There's so much realism to it. Oh, I can't get the magazine in. Oh, well,
got to turn it a little bit of an angle.
There we go.
I remember that change.
It's like, oh man, is it even the right ammo? Yep, it is. You're just not putting it in right. Versus then you'll go back to other shooters and it's click a button or wave it in front of you, and it's, it has its place, but it's not the same. It's not the same at all.
I think that's what's so alluring about Tabor is besides the gameplay and the concept of extracting and looting and killing NPCs and other players, but that absolute, and we've heard from Scott about future possibility of gun jams and cleaning your shit, or else it's not going to, it just doesn't end.
Taking advantage of all the mechanics that are only possible in VR as well, too, like twisting a suppressor and such. So, Z, we've kept you for about an hour now. That's usually the point that, I start to feel bad about stealing the employees and stuff like that. You guys are all
busting chops for the past couple of years.
Yeah, you guys are all extremely hard at work. So definitely grateful for you to take the time and, talk with us, get to know you a little bit more. But before we let you go, is there anything you want to say to the listeners, the fans of Tabor?
Yeah, there's one other, there's a cool thing that's going to be coming, hopefully in the next patch here, along with the whole added realism. I teased it a little bit this morning, but the different colored bullet tips on the different ammunition. So standard, AP, and tracers will all have like a red tip, black tip, or green tip. And one of the really cool things that I had been hoping for from a long time ago has been fixed and done with the magazines. When you put bullets in now, you could load in, let's say, like 5 rounds of tracer, like let's say like for an M4, put in 5 rounds of tracer, 5.56, then load the rest of it with AP, so you can be shooting it, and once you finally get to that bottom of your magazine without needing to check, you'll know when you shoot tracers out of your magazine that your mag's empty, that you're at the bottom of your mag, type of thing. Just that cool little thing that's been it's been fixed. It's going to work. The bullets will push in from the top to the bottom, not reload in the reverse order that they were doing before and everything. It all works awesome, and it's really cool.
I love tracer rounds.
Yeah, that's a
great hack right there.
Mm-hmm, that's a good quality of life improvement as well, too. Not needing to wonder, is this the last round?
Well, how many people are counting when they're shooting rounds off? Usually, like, the last thing you're doing is actually counting.
The Tabor community, I wouldn't be shocked to find out that there's a good percentage that do.
Yeah, it's too much. It's too much thinking for me. That's why I'm already thinking so much when I'm just trying to play the game normally. Having that added protection in there of the the rounds that may not penetrate armor as much, but just letting you know, like, hey, time to drop that mag and put a new one in. And save yourself that 3 seconds in the gunfight that could be the difference between life or death. Just a cool little thing.
Yeah, no, I think people appreciate those small little quality of life ones.
I appreciate that one tremendously, because I live in gear fear even if I'm loaded to the gills. It's like I fire three rounds, I swap magazines. It's no secret. I don't fucking take chances. I know what happens in this game. You're being hunted.
Mm-hmm. You don't want to run out of bullets mid firefight. No, that's for sure.
No.
So again, Z, definitely appreciative of you taking the time. But before you let you go, anything else you want to drop? Any other goodies?
I think that's pretty much it. Personally, as an individual and an employee, I'm super excited for the future of Tabor and everything that there is to come. It's cool being on the inside, seeing what there is to come. I try to sometimes hide things from myself so that I get to still be surprised when they come out and things like that. And sometimes those things happen. I'm like, oh, cool, this is so awesome. But yeah, this game isn't going anywhere anytime soon, and just excited for everyone to be along for the ride.
No, I love that everybody involved in the game is a fan. Whether we're talking Fish, we're talking the developers like Reynaldo, Elijah, or we talk to the media team with you, Soul proper, from top to bottom. Scott.
It's a solid unit.
Everybody loves Tabor. And if you were working on it, if you weren't, it sounds like everybody would be playing it anyway. So I think that's why the game is what it is. You know, it's just fans playing the game, making it better.
Gamers making games.
Yep.
I mean, it seems like such a simple formula, but look at the product of it and the energy from the studio. It's constant.
Listen to how he talked about Grim, you know, and that's coming next. So
Grim's coming, right? We're getting Grim.
So yeah, I mean, that same passion extends to that. So I don't know.
Dude, it's going to be, I don't know. I'm enjoying these times because this studio is just rolling big, and it's just going to get bigger and bigger. And Scott did say he wants to, you know, he doesn't want to hire 10,000 employees, but there's just going to be so much going on in that space. So I give hats off to the entire development team, marketing team, PR peeps, media teams, accountants, CEO, whatever. It's like you guys are just crushing it.
Yeah, results speak for themselves.
Yeah,
that's it.
Can't deny it.
So hopefully this isn't the last time we have you on, Z. You know, it was great to talk to you. I think the listeners, they're really going to enjoy.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like I said, a little bit of a legend in the Tabor community. So this is a good one. Other than that, again, thank you for taking the time. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you for having me. It was a ton of fun.